An hour later I was sitting in Vic's chair getting checked over. I had absolutely refused to go see the TC Ripper, even saying I would drive myself over to mine if I had to. In the end, Fujimura of all people had driven me over to Vic's. The massive cyber Borg had left only after Vic had started taking care of me, seemingly satisfied he knew what he was doing.
What a weird night.
Motoko?
What?
I asked, if you were gonna be alright with your sleep healing. Vic asked, making me realize he had been forced to repeat himself. Yeah,
I should be fine. Why?
Cause other than some serious surgeries, there isn't anything else I can do about all of this, he said seriously, face pinched into a look of honest concern.
Oh yeah, I'll just sleep then. You don't mind?
Nah kid.
Here.
I'll give you some stuff for the pain. Nah, it's fine Vic. I'll just sleep and be fine in the morning, thanks though. For looking me over. I would be worried about sleeping around any other Ripper.
So.
Thanks Doc. I told him, smiling as he fussed over me like a worried dad. Are Vic's dad energy so strong? Motoko. I usually have to talk my patients into taking less medication, not more. Considering the scans of your injuries I took, you should be completely disabled thanks to the pain. Your injury is something I usually see when pedestrians are hit by cars. He explained not quite calmly. Yeah, the Borg hit like a truck. Literally, he knocked a car on its side with one hit. I muttered, which made Vic fuss, but I waved him off, a little weakly I'll admit. Alright, let me take a nap, and you can check on me in the morning? Sorry for coming so late. Don't apologize Motoko. I just wish I could do a bit more for you. He muttered, reaching out and to my surprise patting me on my head. I smiled and had to bite back a chuckle because laughing really hurt. Good night Vic. I muttered and let my eyes close as I put myself to sleep for an 8-hour nap. I awoke instantly like always, feeling great, the injuries healed, and to my surprise there were voices talking away in the clinic. I opened my eyes and took in the room, and had to still to keep myself from squealing. Because leaning nonchalantly against Vic's desk as he chatted away was Jackie Wells. He was pretty much the same as he looked in the game. His voice had that same joking manner that made him so easy to make friends with. Although I did have to translate the Spanish in my head, nearly every other word. Well, what Spanish I actually understood anyways. Come on Vic, you said we were going to get some training in today. He whined, pleading with the older man. I've got a patient Jackie, you know the rules, that comes first. They won't even notice, they are passed out quiet, let's go to the ring, I know you want to get some jabs in, yeah? I don't mind. I called out, interrupting as Vic was gonna definitely say no. Motoko. Vic called out happily as he spun his chair around. Finally awake, how are you feeling? I sat up on the chair a bit and stretched, feeling my abs flex as I checked myself over. Feel like $100 like always. I told him with a smile, but even as I was talking I was sending a message to June. I hope he was alright. Well, that's good, he said, rolling over and starting to check me out even if I was trying to get up. Vic gently pushing me back down had me rolling my eyes and letting him work. See, the little señorita is just fine, come on Vic. You know I've been looking forward to this all week. Jackie whined, literally whined like a kid, but it came off more charming than irritating. Vic, I'm fine. Go play with your friend. I tell him, shooing him with my hand as I smiled at him. Motoko, Vic said, giving me a look of disappointment. Which only made me laugh, of course. Sit tight for a bit Jackie, let me give Motoko a look over, then since she will probably be running away, we'll get to the lesson. Vic offered as he rolled across the concrete over to me, quickly pulling up some scanners and taking a look. Oh come on Vic. I'm fine. I'm tough, you know? He instantly poked me with his needle hand. Ow, 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 ow. I whined at him before he pulled away. I thought you were tough, says the guy sticking me with needles randomly. Hee hee. Yeah Vic, you can't just go. Okay, I'll stay out of it. Sorry Hermana, Jackie said, cut off from Vic. Turning to give Jackie a look, the much larger man raised both hands in surrender at Vic's irritation. Hee hee, I chuckled too because it was a nice little atmosphere. So how's it look, Vic? All good? No. Your arm is still out of alignment. That hit you took knocked your chrome in along your upper shoulder. You're lucky it didn't just break every bone from your shoulder into your chest. I winced. Yeah, that sounded painful. A long whistle came from Jackie. Geez, Ermana, what hit you? A truck? He might as well have been. This guy was like 8 feet tall and all chrome. He probably weighed a ton. I wasn't even the target. The guy just wanted to assassinate someone next to me and my brother, I said, looking over at Vic as he worked on fixing the damage to my chrome. Jackie frowned at that. Fucking cyber psychos, he muttered, but I had to shake my head. No, he was clear-headed. It was a professional hit. Guy was just borged up. Scariest fucker I've ever seen, I admitted, and even Vic looked concerned. I hadn't mentioned to Vic yet about just what brought me in late last night. Real edge runner shit then? Sorry you got caught up in that then, Ermana, Jackie offered, to my surprise, before I understood what he meant. Oh, don't worry. He might have got the drop on us, but between June, my brother, and I, we walked away. He didn't, I said with a smile that was all teeth. Jackie's eyes widened a bit as he obviously had to take what I was saying and process it. I mean, wrapped up in bandages sitting in Vic's chair without a weapon in reach, because Vic refused to let me keep my boyu or anything while he worked. It meant I didn't exactly scream dangerous merc. Huh? You actually fought someone like that? Me and my brother. I'll admit June did more than me. I just couldn't stand up to the guy's strength. He was throwing me around like a ragdoll, I said, holding up my right arm that Vic wasn't working on and flexing it a bit. I wasn't strong enough. Honestly, it could have been disheartening. It could have been terrifying. But me? It just kinda made me excited. If I was weak, gain strength. It was that simple. I still had plenty more grinding I could do to level body. If my body stat had been higher, he wouldn't have knocked me around like a child. If my reflex was higher, he never would have touched me. There was so much I could do to grow stronger. So I would. All right, kid. Run through a few stretches with that arm, tell me if it's catching anywhere, Vic said, cutting off my internal thoughts, and I did as he said, stretching and shifting my arm in different ways. It felt good. Looks good, Vic. Great. In that case, you're good to go whenever, he said, reaching out and patting my shoulder, earning a smile from me. Yes. Come on, Vic. You owe me some time in the ring, hermano, Jackie said, smiling like a kid getting permission to hang out with his dad. Actually, didn't Jackie have a bad relationship with his father? I remember something like that from the game. I guess I wasn't the only one that was treating Vic as a pseudo-dad. All right, kid. All right. Motoko, you'll be all right? Course. But no way am I leaving. I want to see this. You guys are going to box a bit, right? I say as I sit up, and I was already starting to get dressed again, pulling my leotard up over the bandages that Vic had covered me in last night. I would take a moment to remove them later when I wasn't around a couple of old guys, but after a moment my leotard was zipped back up, and I was as modest as usual. Hey. Come on then, hermana, you'll get a treat. See me beat up on the old timer, Jackie joked, throwing me a wink, and while Vic had looked a moment away from trying to convince me to leave, Jackie distracted him. Oh, you think so, huh, kid? All right then. Vic offered as he took off his ripper tools and pulled out a set of boxing gloves from his desk. Then he threw another pair at Jackie. Get gloved up, Jackie. I think you need a few lessons from this old timer, he said, and I laughed at the look Jackie had on his face. Oh, I fucked up. Pictured in pure stark relief stretched across his face. Dash. To my surprise, the boys didn't just go at it right in Vic's clinic. Instead, they headed into the building Misty's shop was in, right next door, and took the elevator up to the roof. There they prepped themselves, and I rooted Vic on, as Jackie and him went at each other. Well, it wasn't quite that brutal, it was a teaching thing. Vic was working Jackie over, punching and jabbing, forcing the bigger man to block and shift on his feet. Every set amount of time Vic would switch to defense and Jackie would go at him. It was fun, entertaining, and surprisingly useful. 100 Street Brawler XP gained. I actually got an alert just from watching and listening, as Vic walked Jackie through mistakes, or prompted him to change his rhythm. It was fun. All right, Jackie. Give me a break. My old man's bones are tired, Vic teased as he rested back against the wall and wiped some sweat from his brow. Jackie, looking almost as tired, wiped his forehead as well and gave Vic that charming boyish smile of his. "You'll be fine. Probably outlive us all," Jackie said with a chuckle, and I couldn't help but wince at that. "Yeah. Why don't you show me some jabs? Your left is messing with your guard still. Make sure you practice it a bit more," Vic said, and Jackie sighed but did as he said, raising his gloves and starting to swing. But I could see it, just as easily as Vic. Jackie kept dropping his right guard whenever he jabbed with his left. "Vic, throw me the gloves," I called out, hopping off the edge of the roof that I had been sitting on and walking over to Jackie. "Motoko. I know how to box, Vic. I'll admit you both are better than me, but I can help with this," I called out, but it was Jackie that interrupted next. "I don't know, Ermana. I don't want to hurt you, you know." "Don't stress." I waved him off and Vic sighed but threw me the gloves. They weren't boxing gloves, but coaching gloves. Padded to fit an open palm so you could take the strike without pain. I slipped them on as I stood in front of Jackie. "My arms are chrome, so you'll be more likely to feel it if I don't give enough. Come on, show me that jab again." I raised the gloves and Jackie still hesitated, before I moved in and threw a few jabs of myself, not enough to hit, but to force him into the rhythm. Then he moved. Jackie was surprisingly fast with his fists, and his form was solid. Power and speed. It made sense why Vic took the time to help him train a bit. He was a natural, but I was a gamer. I easily blocked the first 3 jabs he gave, and then, despite hesitating for a moment after he fell into the flow that I had no trouble keeping up. I was just giving him spots to hit after all. We fell into the flow, and when I baited the left jab I reached out and tapped his cheek with my right glove as I blocked with the left. "Open." He blinked, stepping back in surprise at the sudden assault. Jackie blinked for a moment, processing what had just happened, before nodding. Then he moved back in, and the flow resumed. A few moments later I once more baited the jab, and the same thing happened. He jabbed, lowered his right glove, and I gave him a tap on his chin. "Open." His eyes narrowed, but it wasn't in anger. It was an acknowledgement. We went into it again. Jackie's fists were flying, and I noticed the change this time as he went for the jab. His right glove stayed up, and when I purposefully chose to make the move, his glove blocked me. "Better? Again?" I asked, and to my surprise Vic nodded, looking on happily. "Jackie?" Jackie was beaming. "Hell yeah, Ermana, let's do it," he said, chuckling loudly as he squared up, and I nodded. His glove cracked against my own as he started into a routine. 100 Street Brawler XP gained. 100 Body XP gained. I brushed off the alert as I stretched. Jackie had been a bit too fast a few times and tagged me. If my arms or shoulders were still flesh I would definitely be bruised. Instead I was just a little sore where the chrome met flesh. Like my muscles had been pulled a bit. "Sorry about that, Chum. You'll be alright?" he asked, looking concerned. Made sense. Jackie was a big guy, and I was very much a small girl. "I'm fine. Nice workout. I haven't been hitting the gym enough recently," I told him while wiping sweat from my brow. Jackie and I were both sweaty, having worked ourselves pretty hard. Vic had come in, guided us both on some improvements, and then took the elevator back down before we finally had enough. "Your endurance is good," I teased him a bit as he was now sitting back on one of the lawn chairs that someone had left up here. "No way, you stayed on me the whole time. I'm exhausted, Toko. You said you were what, 14? "Yep," I agreed, and he shook his head. "Damn. You certainly got some skill. You'd fit right into the merc scene. Maybe in a few years you'll be earning rep instead of just boosting wheels, or whatever kids do these days," he said, laughing as he described something he probably did himself at my age. "Gonk. I'm already a merc." I scoffed at his unintentional insult. "I'm good at infiltration, a bit of net running, and I'm pretty good with a blade, or a gun." I counted off my chrome fingers at each one. "I hunted down a serial killer on my last gig. Ever heard of the Meat Man?" I asked, and to my pleasure Jackie actually looked serious as he nodded. "Heard they finally got him. NN54 had a whole thing about it." "That was you?" "Wait. My kill was on the news?" I gasped as I rose up. I need to record it. Or see it. I called out, waving my arms a bit in happiness. I was on the news. Whoa, Mana, easy. You can go to their site, should be easy enough to take a look at. You really killed that bastardo? He asked surprised and I nodded. Sniped him with my Nekomata. Rescued the people he had kidnapped, even called in the NCPD so they could take care of it all. Ended up waiting around in handcuffs for a couple hours, but it was worth it in the end. Well damn. Not bad at all, little Toko. You'll make an edge runner out of yourself someday, he said laughing with a smile. PFFT. I'm never gonna be an edge runner. I don't plan on going out in some blaze of glory. I'll be the next Morgan Blackhand. I'll live until I'm 130 and still wipe the floor with all the gonk kids. I tell him, laughing at my mental image of myself as some ancient hag whacking kids with the back end of a thermal katana. Hey. Not me. I'm gonna make this city remember me, Mana. I'll have a drink in the afterlife, and I'll live forever, he said looking up at the sky, smiling at his dream. I was grateful that he wasn't looking at me. My face couldn't be pleasant to look at as I watched on. I had watched this man die. Watched his final moments, seen his funeral, and all the pain it had caused. Jackie was a street kid of Night City through and through. Even if I told him, even if I explained how much it would hurt his family, he wouldn't stop racing along the edge. The disgusting culture in this city, to throw your life away in a moment of glory. There would be no convincing Jackie that his life would have far more meaning if he stayed alive. Lived his life, had a family. Because he had been raised on the idea that a drink in a bar was the pinnacle. Disgusting. But nothing I could do right now. No words I could say, nothing I could show him. We weren't even chums yet. Just two people that knew a guy. Well, how about you then, Jackie? What happened on your last gig? Oh yeah, that was a fun one. Had to chase down this pendejo to pay his bar tab, funnily enough. It was all going well, tracked him down, got him in my grip, but then I realized he had chums. Jackie and I ended up getting distracted as Jackie told stories of all the jobs he had done. I realized pretty quickly that while he tried to hype them up, most of them were low-level jobs. It startled me when I realized the truth. Jackie, for all his talk, was pretty low-level in the grand scheme of the Merc hierarchy. I mean, he was no Maine. No David. He was way less borged out, for one. For another, he talked himself up a lot, but he only really did low-level gigs. It was his words near the end that made me realize the vast gulf between us. And maybe just how odd what I had been doing was. So Padre set me up with a chance to meet Waikiko. Got a big gig coming up. If I do well, he'll put me in touch with her. The Dragon of Westbrook, you know? I've never heard anyone call Waikiko that before. I muttered, surprised. Usually it's the Lady of Westbrook. Yeah, well, I just came up with it. She is, you know, the most dangerous woman in Westbrook. She deserves a title like that. Makes her sound as dangerous as she is. He sort of rambled and I couldn't help but chuckle at him as he sort of tried to defend his weird title. It sounds cool, Jackie. I'll make sure to tell her about it next time I see her. I tell him with a quiet chuckle. PFFT. Yeah, you'll just walk into her parlor and talk to her, tell her about a preem new title she can use. But seriously, don't do that. Fixers like Waikiko are dangerous people. And don't like being bothered for shit, he said, shaking a finger at me. Making me realize that Jackie had no idea I already worked with Waikiko. I thought about telling him. I really did. I could probably help him out, even give him some good hype with her. But then a thought happened. An evil, funny thought. Hey Jackie. You said you got a gig from Padre, right? What are you doing? Need someone to watch your back? I asked, with a smile, but Jackie instantly shook his head. No way, Mana. I'm not dragging a kid into something dangerous. No way. Oh, come on, Jackie. Having someone watching your back is way safer than going it alone. I've done work with the Tiger Claws before. I helped out during the war. Let me watch your back. You won't even know I'm there. He hesitated before sighing. Listen, Motoko. I know what it's like. Being a kid, wanting to be great, wanting to have your name in the sky, and everyone knowing who you are. He shook his head. But you shouldn't rush into it. Being an edge runner is one thing, but losing your life before you're even old enough to live it is a waste, he said firmly. He wasn't gonna budge.
The jerk. Fine. I'll just troll him then. Fine.
Well Jackie, this has been super fun. We should get together and do some more boxing again sometime. It's been a while since I had this much exercise, I said, stretching my back as I started walking off, waving behind me.
I'll see you again soon, I called out.
Sooner than he would think. First thing I did once I said goodbye to Vic, and stopped in to chat with Misty, was call Wakako. Wakako.
My favorite fixer.
How are you?
What do you want?
She demanded instantly, my attempt to flatter obviously revealing my intentions. You have a guy looking to work with you. Jackie Wells?
I'm aware, what about him?
So he's not half bad.
Got the skill, and the desire to push to the top.
Bit of a gonk though. You'll do best by matching him up with someone.
Let him be the muscle and all that.
But when you finally meet with him, can I be there?
Please, I begged,
not even bothering to keep any sense of self-respect. Wakako let out a sigh and the line went quiet for a minute.
What nonsense are you trying to put together?
Okay, so Jackie, nice guy, I like him. When he said he was trying to work with you, I had a thought. Motoko, you could help this guy finish this gig, and have a bit of muscle that you could trust on some gigs. But Jackie's a bit of a gonk. Refused my help cause I'm a kid. So now when he meets you, I need to tease him a bit. Please Wakako. I just want to be there in person so he walks into the room and just sees me already there. The look on his face. You can't tell me it won't be funny. Girl. I'm a professional. I don't do things just because they will be funny. I'll give you a discount on my next gig. 2,000 off, I said instantly. The line went silent. I will inform you if he completes the gig. She admits frankly without any sign that she had to walk back on her words. Wakako. I love you.
Cool.
So.
I have a gig for you, she said suddenly, and my brain chirped as I got a text.
Oh?
It's been a while.
I expected you to be throwing gigs at me a lot sooner. You've been busy enough without my assistance, she says in a low tone. But if you have so much more interest in work, I'll have more gigs for you soon. Then she hung up on me. Wakako. I hate you. I sighed and checked the information. Humming a bit, I sent back a confirmation I would get it done and turned around. This was gonna be interesting. I couldn't help but think as I looked over the building. It was an office building. They had some data that a client of Wakako's wanted. I was stealing from a small company. Entity Retail LLC. What did they do? No idea. Their company net page was basically full of corpo slang talking about using intelligent solutions to solve problems like tech. The company could literally do anything if you actually believed its slogans. But that didn't matter. I was here to steal some information, nothing more. So I parked in the garage and walked in the front door of the business skyscraper. The company only rented one of the offices on the 11th floor, so it wasn't like I had to sneak all the way through. The building lobby was basically empty, just a generic corporate business lobby that I walked right through to the elevator. It took me a few seconds to know that hacking the elevator was a no-go. It would take too long, so I walked past it to the stairs. The stairs were secured here at the bottom, but that took me far less time to break into than the elevator security, and then I was in the stairwell. Slowly I marched up the stairs, actually enjoying the exercise a bit. Between this and training with Jackie, I was getting a little physically tired. I peeked through the door that was marked 11 to see what I was dealing with. And it was a hallway. Right, this wasn't some Arasaka Corpo office with HMGs around every corner. It was just an office building. I slipped in to look around. The hallway led to a main foyer that had 3 different corporations that I could see, at least based on the doors. It took me about 30 seconds after finding the corporation that I wanted to turn around and head back into the stairwell. On the door was the office hours, and considering I had seen a bunch of people inside, now it was time to wait for closing time. It took a few hours, and if not for the ability to send texts and a really nice view off the roof of the building, I would have been annoyed. I had thought about heading home, but by the time I actually reached the apartment I would have had to go out again anyways. So I spent a few hours enjoying the view from the top of the 12-story tower, while waiting for the office to close down. Well, that and hacking into the building security. There was an access port on the roof, and I mean, it was just sitting right there. Sure, the security was pretty good, and some of the different floors' security was even better, but I had a few hours to burn, and it was something to do. So I breached in, and poked around, taking over a few of the cameras in the system, deleting some files that had me on the camera, even if the image was blurry thanks to my Kiroshi. You know, fun things. I was watching through the cameras as the time finally came. The office started clearing out over the next 30 minutes, until finally a man exited and turned off the lights on his way out. Go time. I disconnected and headed down, the security of the building already broken before me, so nothing stopped me. The office had its own secure system, and it was better than normal building security. It was just unfortunate that building security still had access to the office per their lease. So since I had already broken one system, I had given myself security administrator access to the office. I didn't even have to hack the system. It simply beeped and let me in. The office was dark, and a little spooky, but I fixed that by turning the lights on and started looking around. I needed to find the boss's office, and it took me a few minutes before I spotted it. The door was locked, and it actually had a private security pad. Which was hilarious because I recognized the pad. It was one you could buy from basically any store for a few eddies. The security was worse than the office itself. I suppose it was just meant to keep the workers in the office out. 30 seconds later I was in, and exploring the boss's office. The man obviously thought highly of himself. Paintings on the walls. Golden doodads on the desk. A fancy computer rig. I woke it up, and it took me 10 seconds to find the password written on a note nearby. It was almost sad that I didn't even have to breach in. I accessed the system, and then jacked in. Found the files the client wanted. And stole a few extras for me. I would trade it in at the dewdrop for something maybe. Then I shut the computer down and whistled as I headed out. I even shut the lights out on my way out the door. Used the elevator, which I now had security access to use, to hit the bottom floor and walked out. As I climbed into the quadra, I sent a message to Wakako with the data. Gig complete. Dash. Finally. I grumbled as I managed to get a new bit of code to compile. I was working on weapon glitch, clearing out the jumbles of bad code, and trying to smooth out its process time. If my estimate was right, I could drastically increase the activation speed. But more interesting was the fact I knew this quick hack could be used on multiple people at a time. The skill to do something like that was beyond me at the moment. I simply had no idea how to bounce a hack through multiple people, but it was possible, and it was something I wanted. I still remember the scene in Edge Runners when the entire group of Maelstrom had all their weapons and cyberware malfunction suddenly from a single netrunner. That was Edge Runner shit. Lucy and Kiwi were at that level. The experience, tech, and skill to pull it off. I wasn't, not yet anyways, but I just had to aim for that, and eventually the system would get me there. I shook my thoughts away and stretched. The code compiled. I had managed to for at least a small section of the massive program to clean it up. Now I just needed to do that like 1,000 more times. Uck. Stupid jerks putting out shitware. If I ever find out who fucked this code, I'll kill them. I promised as I laid back on the couch. I could use a nap. No one was bugging me at the moment. June was at work. Wakako had her gig completed the same day. Regina was still quiet. Hiromi was dealing with homework. Ichi and Malcolm were both enjoying their wealth from the scav cleanup. All was good. I sighed. Another 1,000 snarls to go. I reminded myself and rose up, putting my hands back against the keyboard and starting on the next section of snarled goofy code. Intelligence leveled up. I blinked at the sudden alert. I had barely been able to fix a single line of code before the alert popped up. Intelligence 8. The alert perked me right back up and I buried my head in the code once more. Dash. I woke up the next morning to sunlight streaming in through the armored blinds. I had fallen asleep on the couch again instead of going into my bedroom, but it didn't really matter to me. I woke up feeling completely rested either way. Morning, June said, almost startling me as he walked out of the bedroom. He hadn't come home last night before I fell asleep, and I hadn't even realized he had come home. I didn't hear you come in, I muttered, glaring a bit, and he actually smirked at me, before very obviously starting to pace in front of me in the living room. It took a moment before I realized it. He made almost no sound as he stepped, unlike the previous thuds he had made. Link's paws? Yep. Gonk, I snarled, jumping at him suddenly, using the living room table to leap into the air to crash into him. A few moments of swinging myself around him turned into a grapple as I gripped his stupid face with both of my hands and smashed my forehead into his stupid gonk face. Fuck. Motherfuck. He screamed out as he tried to rip me away. Why did you get more chrome, you stupid gonk fuck? I screamed at him, ready to smash his face again, when he finally managed to grab my face to keep me from bashing him face to face again. I didn't. Fuck. Motoko, you little. He snarled as he kept trying to rip me away but failing. Thank you, grapple perk. Bullshit. I didn't. The link's paws were already installed. Fucko. That hurt. Explanations required or pain will continue. I snarled in his face. They were already installed, but they were shit. An old set, Motoko, now get off my face. He growled, and I finally accepted, rolling backwards, landing on my hands before pushing myself into a flip to land in a crouch on the couch. You did say you were going to Vix. I did, you fucking gonk. He growled at me, but the link's paws parts were from that chromed Borg. Grr. I growled at June, waving my fingers threateningly as I considered angles to attack. He was aware of me now. The lack of surprise would make it harder. Enough. The crazy Borg we fought had a set of link's paws, way better than the shit I had. So I got my chrome upgraded. You shouldn't be installing new chrome, you chrome-brained gonk. I didn't. I just upgraded. Same thing. Well, it's done. Jeez. My head hurts. He grumbled. Since I flatlined him, a lot of his chrome was gathered up. I did the smart thing and didn't chip in any of the rest. Relax, Motoko. I'm not gonna go cyber psycho. Go see Vic to get everything checked out. You know he is better than the TC Ripper you went to before. Yeah. Alright. If it'll keep you from attacking me. He stomped off to the kitchen, his new chrome making the act amusing since it wasn't really loud enough to get the point across. Uck. My brother was a chrome dome. I sat back on the couch and just let out a sigh. Keeping that moron alive was going to be a full-time job, wasn't it? I really needed to get him a girlfriend. Or a keeper. It might be a bit too soon still for the girlfriend thing. We hadn't talked about his reason for revenge on the Maelstrom in a while. Hell, we were both basically pretending the group didn't exist for now. Hey. June started speaking as he popped open a can of his energy drink soda garbage that I refused to try. What? I said a little sulkily as he snorted at me in amusement. I'm glad you're okay. I was worried. That edge runner was. Yeah, a fucking monster, I said, nodding in commiseration. I'm glad you're okay too. I was worried even when we killed him. Yeah, are you sure you're okay? You were coughing up blood. Yep. Vic fixed me up. I waved it off, not wanting to get into the nuance of how injured I had been. Good. Very good. Also the TC are very, very happy. Okina-sama, the man we saved? He was super important. The fact we took out his attempted killer, and saved him? Word is getting around. Fujimura-sama even angled it into both of us getting a lot of rep. Uck. June snorted at my noise of displeasure but continued on. It's a good thing, Motoko. Think of it as the TC owing you something. If you ever get in trouble with them, then you have some credit to fall back on. It also means they will be trying to recruit me. Nah, as far as the higher-ups are concerned, you're already one of us. Fujimura-sama is your boss and no one else will mess with him. Uck. Hey, it's fine, Motoko. I've spoken with him myself about it. He knows you aren't really interested in the gang stuff. He isn't happy about it, but he also knows that since I'm there, you will always have a connection to the TC. He is betting on you eventually giving in and joining up in full. June offers, basically saying that Fujimura is blackmailing me into always being friendly with the TC thanks to June. So what then? I've got some rep with the TC? Seems kinda pointless. Motoko. The video cameras of our fight were nabbed by the bosses. Everyone saw what we did, what you did to save Okina-sama. Okina-sama himself actually had a fight with Fujimura-sama about having you join his crew. June revealed, making me grimace. Just what I wanted. Gang bosses fighting to own me. It's fine Fujimura-sama won. You being a member even not really of the kamikaze meant Okina-sama couldn't touch you. You did a good thing, and the TC won't forget. I've been getting treated a lot better than before too. I've had a few of the bosses calling me June Dono, you know? He said, looking all proud of himself. I just smiled and even reached up to pat his head, which he quickly slapped away. It was nice that June was feeling proud of his accomplishments. I wasn't going to shit on that, even if I couldn't help but think the respect of a few mob bosses was worth less than the words it took to breath it. But hopefully, since June was loyal and skilled, that would only be to his benefit. June wandered off after that to relax and I was feeling bored. I settled back into the couch, not in the mood for programming. I wanted to do something with my hands. I looked over to my room. It had been a while. I got up and cleared a spot on the table, making sure I would have the room. I had come a long way since I first decided I would take care of this. I went into my room and after a few moments came tottering out with the damaged HMG that I had once claimed from my first scav raid. The damaged barrel was still the most annoying part. It wasn't exactly a cheap piece of metal, having to take the forces the machine gun requires. But I was a lot better than before, and I had a pretty solid grasp of my 3D printer. As I took it apart, I ignored Jern's look, which was obviously filled with jealousy at his little sister's wonderful heavy weapons. If he wanted one, he could get his own. This one was mine. I looted it fair and square. With the barrel removed, I fed it into the 3D printer. It could break it down and remake it with enough time, and I actually know how to program that now. Then I basically broke down the weapon into component parts, checking every piece for damages. Not surprising since it was a rugged design, the weapon mostly alright. A few dents here and there, with only one that I would have to actually take care of. The receiver and mechanisms were mostly okay, a few bits needed cleaning of course, and I had to do some fixing on the electronics. Some of the wiring had been shaken loose and needed to be resoldered. But then it was basically done and ready to be put back together, just waiting on the barrel, which was going to take a whole lot longer. 100 crafting XP gained. I noted the XP alert, without much thought. With that I settled my almost completed HMG on the floor beside the couch and pulled my laptop back up. Always more to do. Late that night, long after my HMG was once more fixed and ready to fire, and as I was still digging through code, I got a call I had been expecting a long time ago. Motoko. Regina. I was wondering if our work relationship had ended without me knowing. I grumbled at her, but she sighed, sounding tired. Things have been hectic over the last few days. I apologize. I told you before I had a gig that needed someone dead. You said you could do it. Yeah? Things happened, but the gig remains the same. The target is in hiding, and it took a while to confirm his location, but the client still wants him dead. You still in? Yeah, I'll still take the gig. Send me the details. I hummed a bit as I received a text, but Regina didn't hang up. I guess I was so used to Wakako throwing the details at me and then expecting me to get it done. I looked it over, and it honestly wasn't very different from the Jotaro job. Except for one thing. What's up with this bar that he is hiding in? I muttered, earning a chuckle across the line. The Lion's Den isn't a normal bar. And unfortunately, it's likely that whatever face he walked into the bar with he is no longer wearing. Wanting me to kill a guy who I can't recognize isn't exactly a thrilling gig here, Regina. I muttered as I looked over the details. The bar was built out of an old warehouse in Santo Domingo, nothing crazy about the location, although it was 6th Saint territory. The on-site ripper keeps a log of all work she does. So you'll need to go through her to find out where the target is. You'll need to get in, get the info, kill him and get out. Think you are up for it? Yeah, I'll see what I can do tonight. I mutter, standing up and loading up. I might as well get started now. Maybe I'll be able to hack into the Ripper's computer. That would certainly make finding him easier. Just what sort of bar had an on-site Ripper Doc? What the hell was Regina aiming me at? Good, keep me informed.